Hey there makers, I'm Mandy from So Quirky. Did you know you can create your own decorative stitch? No? Well, I'm going to show you how on the Bernette B79 sewing and embroidery machine. Now you don't need an embroidery machine, but you will need a machine that has the capability to design or create your own stitch. This could be called a stitch creator, stitch designer, something along those terms. So let's get into it. Now the reason why I love decorative stitches so much is it's a great way to add texture to an applique. So instead of an applique looking pretty flat, it actually gives the illusion of texture or fur. Fur? Wouldn't it be cool if you could create a stitch that looks like fur? Well, I'm going to show you how. I absolutely love decorative stitches. It's a great way to add dimension and texture to my applique patterns. Now today I'm going to be working on my brand new pattern, Rosie and River Roo. Now this version is actually my mum's. We shrunk it down to 60% of the size and check it out. Isn't it beautiful? Now this version is actually created with a collection of Liberty fabrics by the Strawberry Thief. It also features wool felt by My Felt Lady, which you'll see on the faces and little accents as well. Isn't it sweet? Now, kangaroos are furry. So let's create a furry stitch. You may have a stitch similar to this one already. The following steps are particularly helpful for those that don't. Later in this video, I'll share some tips for appliquing with this fun stitch. To begin creating our furry stitch, we need to select the Stitch Designer icon. This takes us into a screen which allows you to create your own stitch, as well as edit existing stitch patterns. The most recent stitch you had selected prior to entering the Stitch Designer will be displayed. By tapping the delete icon twice, I've removed all the stitches ready to create my own. You'll see a grid on screen which is very helpful. These guides are displayed with a spacing of 0.5 millimeters. There are a few options when creating your stitch. Use whichever works best for you. I'm using more of a freehand option, but you can also engage the grid icon and every inserted point is automatically placed on the nearest grid point. Now when you are creating your furry stitch, don't get caught up thinking you need the exact same placement of each point like mine. Just watch the stitch preview on the left side of the screen and move the points until you're happy with the look of your stitch. As a guide, I've created a grid with roughly the same measurements I used. If you're not happy where a point is positioned, please select the relocating point icon, then touch and hold the point you want to move. Once you're happy, select the green tick icon in the bottom right corner. It gets better, my friends. You can use the stitch length and width dials to adjust your furry stitch to your desired size. What's totally awesome is I can save my furry stitch to the personal memory on the machine and use it whenever I like. By selecting the personal memory icon, followed by the save stitch pattern icon, touch the confirm icon to save the stitch. We're now ready to have some applique fun. I'm using an open toe foot so that I have nice clear vision. The furry stitch is completely beginner friendly as long as you don't freak out with how much the needle is moving. I recommend watching the center of the foot, keeping it on the edge of your applique shape. This stitch is going to stitch partly on the applique shape and partly on the background. This is what makes it such a great decorative stitch for creating the illusion of fur. If you'd like to learn more about the Bernette B79 or make one your new sewing bestie, check out the link below and details in the description. Doesn't Rosie look fab with this added texture and dimension? You'll find this pattern and many others on my website or check with your local quilting store.